Are you ready for a story that starts with, "It's just a small loan," and ends with family silence so loud it rings in your ears? Because if you've ever helped someone you love a little too much, this one's going to hit uncomfortably close to home. So do me a favor. Subscribe, hit like, and share this with that friend who always says just one more time. Because this story is a warning wrapped in love and bad decisions. Welcome to the channel Lying Whispers, my friends. This is where we talk about the things nobody likes to admit out loud. Like how sometimes loving your family costs more than any bank loan ever could. Stick with me till the end, seriously, because what starts as loyalty slowly turns into a financial chokehold.
Now grab a coffee and come sit with me through this absurd story. You'll want caffeine for this. Trust me. The narrator doesn't put herself front and center as the hero of the story. But she knows every detail like she lived it, because, in many ways she did. It all started with the brother. Let's call him Daniel, because there's always a Daniel in stories like this. The Daniel who's going through a rough patch. The Daniel who just needs a little help. The Daniel who swears that this time things will be different. Daniel was charming. Not exactly reliable, but charming. The kind of guy who knows exactly how to lower your defenses with the right tone and the right timing. He grew up with that dangerous family label. He has so much potential. And my friends, potential is just the waiting room between failure and excuses. The first time he asked for money, it didn't feel dramatic. It didn't feel dangerous. It felt casual. A short message. Almost lazy. Hey, could you lend me a little money? Just for this month. Just this month. The most expensive sentence in family history. The narrator remembers the moment perfectly. Standing in the kitchen. Cold coffee. Bills on the counter. Adult life already punching hard. And that message glowing on the screen like it wasn't about to change everything. Because come on, it's her brother. Who doesn't help their brother? That's when the sibling duty kicked in. That inner voice that says, if you don't help him, who will? The same voice that never asks, and who saves you when this goes wrong? The money was sent fast. No contract. No rules. No questions. Because when you help family, you don't sign paperwork. You sign with guilt. Daniel was grateful. Very grateful. Long messages. Emojis. Promises wrapped in appreciation. I'll pay you back as soon as I get back on my feet. This won't happen again. You have no idea what this means to me. Quick spoiler alert, my friends. It absolutely happened again. At first, everything seemed fine. One small loan. Almost symbolic. Nothing that hurt yet. Then came the second message. Not urgent. Not emotional. Worse, normalized. Hey, remember the money you lent me? Something else came up. Nothing serious. I'll pay you everything together. Everything together. Like debt magically organizes itself into a neat little bow. This time the amount was bigger. Still manageable. Just uncomfortable enough to notice, not enough to say no. And that's when the drip started. Small amounts. Shorter gaps between requests. More creative excuses. 1 week it was rent. The next, a business opportunity. Then a debt with someone dangerous. Always something. Always urgent. Always now. The narrator felt it, that tight feeling in the chest. That instinct you can't explain but should never ignore. The voice whispering, something's off. And she ignored it. Because family. Saying no to a stranger is easy. Saying no to your brother turns you into the villain. And nobody wants to be the villain in their own family story. But the body keeps score. As Daniel asked for more, the narrator slept less. Nights filled with mental math. 3 a.m. calculations. Questions no one wants to ask themselves. What if he never pays me back? How long can I keep this up? Why do I feel guilty for protecting myself? The anxiety leaked into everything. Conversations. Decisions. That constant dread of the next notification. Daniel kept promising. Big promises. Vague promises. Promises with no deadlines. When this deal closes, I'll pay you back. I'm so close to turning things around. Just trust me. And this is where the narrator looks at you and asks, "Trust me how many times?" Then came the moment. The one that, looking back, screams this was the beginning of the end. Daniel asked for an amount that wasn't small anymore. This wasn't a boost. It was a financial life raft for someone who refused to learn how to swim. For the first time, the narrator hesitated. Really hesitated. She asked the forbidden question. "When are you paying me back for the other loans?" Silence. Heavy. Awkward. The kind that answers everything without saying a word. Then came the defense. The offense. The manipulation dressed as vulnerability. "So, you don't trust me now? You know everything I'm dealing with. If you don't help me, I don't know what I'll do." And just like that, the debt stopped being financial. It became emotional. Every loan carried guilt. Every boundary felt like betrayal. Every doubt was framed as a lack of love. Daniel wasn't asking anymore. He was expecting. The narrator's own finances started to crack. Plans delayed. Savings drained. Dreams shoved into a mental drawer labeled later. Because there was always a later. After helping Daniel. After he stabilized. After he paid her back. Later never came. And the worst part?
She started normalizing it.
He's just in a phase. He'll get better. I can't abandon him. Until one night, staring at her bank account, reality hit. She wasn't helping her brother. She was funding his downfall. That was the aha moment. The exact second help turned into harm. When every transfer felt less like love and more like a noose tightening around both of them. She talked to friends, trusted people, someone not emotionally tangled in the mess. And they all said the same thing in different words. That's not support. That's enabling. You're not responsible for saving him. You're losing yourself. It hurt to hear, but it also set her free. The confrontation was unavoidable. It wasn't calm. It wasn't mature. It wasn't pretty. It was emotional, messy, honest. She set boundaries. She said no more money. Daniel reacted exactly how people do when the safety net disappears. Anger, denial, guilt-tripping. "You're abandoning me. After everything I've done for you. I never thought you'd be like this." The guilt tried to take center stage again. This time it didn't win. Cutting the money meant cutting something else too. Calls slowed. Messages went cold. Silence moved in. And, yes, it hurt. But there was also relief. For the first time in a long time, the narrator could breathe without fearing the next notification. The silence after cutting him off wasn't peaceful. It wasn't healing. It was loud in that invisible way that crawls under your skin. The narrator woke up expecting messages that never came. And somehow that hurt. But the thought of them coming? That hurt too. Because when you stop enabling someone, the relationship doesn't end cleanly. It just bleeds. Daniel vanished for days. Then weeks. Then popped back up like nothing happened with neutral, dry messages that felt almost professional. "No, how are you? No, I miss you." Just updates. Facts. Hints. As if he was waiting for her to fall back into her old role. But this time, there was no transfer. Only silence. And silence, my friends, is an answer. The family noticed. Of course they did. Family drama has a sixth sense. You can lock the door, mute the chat, delete the app, it always finds a way in. An aunt casually asked if everything was okay. A cousin mentioned Daniel wasn't doing so well. Someone dropped the most dangerous sentence in existence. But at the end of the day, he's your brother. Ah, yes. The holy phrase. The narrator smiled. Nodded. Stayed polite. while thinking, if you only knew what that sentence actually costs. No one asked how much she had already given. No one asked what she'd sacrificed. No one asked how many panic-filled nights came with those loans. They didn't see numbers. They saw roles. And her role had always been clear. The responsible one. The fixer. The one who can handle it. The guilt showed up everywhere. At the grocery store. In the shower. Right before falling asleep. Guilt whispered things like, maybe you overreacted. Maybe you could have helped just a little more. Maybe this really was the last time. But something else showed up too. Clarity. She started noticing how much of her life had revolved around managing someone else's chaos. How many plans she postponed. How much of herself she poured into someone who refused to hold the cup. That realization hurt. But it also woke her up. Then Daniel reached out again. This time, his tone had changed. Not angry. Not demanding. Defeated. Things didn't work out. You were right. In dealing with the consequences. The narrator read the message over and over. She felt sadness. Fear. That automatic pull to rescue. And here comes the hardest part, my friends. She did nothing. Not because she didn't care, but because she finally understood that stepping in now would mean starting the cycle all over again. Sometimes love looks like letting someone sit with the mess they made. Sometimes growth requires hitting bottom. It's brutal. It's unfair. And it's real. Time passed. Not magically. Not smoothly. Slow. Awkward. With emotional setbacks and small breakthroughs. Daniel began taking responsibility. Not perfectly. Not completely. But alone. Their relationship wasn't the same anymore. And maybe it never would be. But the narrator had changed. Stronger. Clearer. No longer confusing love with self-sacrifice. Looking back, she doesn't call herself brave. She doesn't call herself heartless. She calls herself human. Human for wanting to help. Human for getting it wrong. Human for choosing survival, emotional, and financial. Because support shouldn't destroy you. And love shouldn't empty you out.
Now let me ask you, my friends, where does your responsibility end when someone you love refuses to change? At what point does helping become fear dressed up as loyalty? Would you have cut them off or given it one more try? Drop it in the comments, my friends. I need to know what you'd do in this situation. Hit like if this story hit a nerve. Share it with the one friend who always gives too much and never chooses themselves. Because here, on Lying Whispers, we don't invent the drama. We recognize it. See you in the next story.